Dear friends of the Slobodan Milosevic International Committee for National Sovereignty and Social Justice, and warm greetings to Klaus Hartmann and Vladimir Krishyanin from the International Action Center and from Workers' World Party. We salute your great determination, 20 years of this heroic defense. All of us join especially in saluting the memory of Slobodan Milosevic. I had the honor to visit President Milosevic under the most difficult, grievous conditions of the Hague prison. And I recall even in the dark prison walls, Slobodan Milosevic's determination to put NATO on trial, to turn the tables. He vibrated with plans and preparations. Those plans were cut short by criminal withholding of essential medicines and treatment. But in that kangaroo court, Milosevic stood tall. I recall my visits to Belgrade with Ramsey Clark, so dearly missed, during the dark days of the NATO 1999 bombing. 78 days, 480 schools bombed. That's how NATO makes war. Those NATO crimes can never be forgotten, but it's the memory of the courage and the resistance that still holds and keeps us strong. The US-NATO takeover of the Yugoslav Federation began 30 years ago, in 1991. It was NATO that tore the Yugoslav Federation apart with economic sanctions, with mercenary gangs, and then relentless bombing, and finally direct military occupation in Bosnia and in Kosovo. As you know, and as everyone participating knows, as President Milosevic knew so well, ideas, they don't die. Now, we published a book on The Defense Speaks for History and the Future, President Milosevic's opening statement before the phony International Criminal Tribunal at The Hague. It's one of several books, but it is a ringing affirmation. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, NATO looked all powerful. They were emboldened by their occupation in the Balkans to wage new wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria, emboldened. And the current US President Joe Biden was the biggest war hawk in the US Senate. He pushed relentlessly for the bombing of Yugoslavia. Joe Biden was an architect of that criminal war and of every war since. Any wars being planned today. But the US empire is not all powerful. Today, sanctions, economic sanctions, are the weapon of choice. It means economic dislocation, hyperinflation, scarcity, shortages. That is a crime against humanity. US sanctions today are on 39 countries, a third of the world's population, but it's finally breaking. The US is using this weapon to deny millions of people in countries under sanctions, even the COVID vaccines and other essential medicines and foods. But the wars come home. Today, the highest rate of COVID deaths in the world is the United States. How shameful. But China is shipping more than 2 billion vaccines in this year alone to the world. And China and Russia, Iran, Venezuela, Syria, Zimbabwe, Cuba, Lebanon, and Serbia are in living ways challenging the US sanctions and refusing to be starved. For the past 2 years, the International Action Center has been engaged in an international campaign against the use of all US sanctions. We've used petitions and statements and webinars even during this pandemic. We've created teaching tools and graphics and reports to the US Congress and reports to the United Nations and to so many international bodies. It's called the Sanctions Kill campaign. We invite your greater participation in this effort and thank you for your support in signing those petitions. Labeling sanctions as a crime against humanity, denouncing it globally is a big task, but it will link the people's movements against sanctions and for unity, for solidarity. It will build the unity we need to confront this monstrous imperialist system. So I conclude in sending our solidarity and our determination to continue.